Okay, so I was asked about my watercolor palette the other day by Chris. Hi, Chris. And I thought, you know what? It's been a while since I've actually gone over the colors that I use, and I thought that might be helpful. So I want to do a real quick video. I'm setting my timer just to help me out because I do tend to get lost when I'm filming. I do have these colors swatched in here. So I'm going to use this as my guide as far as the names, but I'm just going to go ahead and swatch them in my Pith sketchbook because the paper in this Royal Talons one is like a cream, and the Pith is actually not quite stark white, but it's more white, close to white. So I have this here to help me. And I'm just going to go through the colors. These are my main colors that I'm using right now, but I do have some others that if I have time, I'll show you. I mean, I have a lot. I have a ton. I need to maybe purge some of them, but I don't know. I go through phases with colors that I like, and so sometimes I'll break out one I haven't used in a long time, and all of a sudden it's, you know, exactly the right color. Let me make sure I'm in frame. Okay, so this is unbleached titanium or titanium buff. I think it's Daniel Smith, and it is titanium buff from Daniel Smith. But essentially, you know, it's a pigment that it's the same pigment as other brands, but sometimes called things different. Like sometimes called buff titanium, titanium buff, unbleached titanium. So that's what that is. This one is one of the colors I got from Case for Making kind of recently. It's called CFM Sand. It's one of their like proprietary mixes or whatever, like their own shop mixes, blends. I don't know what you'd call that, but it's close to Titan Buff, but it's not. It's got a little bit more color, a little bit darker. And then this one is obviously one of my favorites because I'm about out of it, which kind of makes me sad. But I think I have a paint that's actually pretty similar that I'm going to go back to using that's from Daniel Smith. Daniel Smith is like on the pricier side, but you get these big tubes if you buy the like 15 milliliter tubes, and they'll last a long time. Whereas I bought this from Case for Making, this one pan, and the pan, you know, if I use it a lot, it doesn't actually last that long. I bought this pan earlier this year. I can't remember what month. I don't know. Probably I did this palette in May. So maybe like maybe in May or April I bought this, and it's already almost gone. So it's the slate green, I want to say. Slate, yeah. Case for Making, slate green. And this is another CFM color called French Ochre Sahara. Is that what it's called? I think. So Case for Making, it's like handmade watercolors in California. And they make their own blends, but then they also have like, you know, normal pigments. I think this is just like a, you know, like a regular pigment. They have natural pigments. They have not natural pigments. I'm blanking on what you would call that. Like artificial or no, I don't know. But so the ones that they blend themselves are called like CFM, and the name CFM Sand. CFM Sand. This is not, and this is not like a CFM color, if that makes sense. This is CFM Cocoa, which is a very nice dark brown that I think is kind of similar to a Van Dyke brown, but has just a little bit of a purpliness to it. A cooler brown. And yeah, it's nice. And then this one, I believe is a Holbein color. Yeah, Naples yellow. Now, Holbein has two, if I'm not mistaken, two shades of Naples yellow. I want to say this is number 2. There's one that's a little bit more yellow and one that's more peachy, and I think this is the more peachy one. I've had this one for years, like years and years, so I don't remember. And this one is a newer to me color by Mission, which I bought from Jackson's. I don't know where you would get this. This brand I've only seen at Jackson's, I think, but it's called Mission. And if my memory is correct, I think it's a Mexican brand. No. I think that's a different one. Now I can't remember where this one's from, but I could look it up. But yeah, it's Mission and ochre or yellow. I think it's just yellow ochre, like a regular yellow ochre. And then this one is kind of the reason I ordered from Case for Making back in the spring. They were going to stop making this color because they were saying that the pigments that they were receiving were kind of unreliable as far as the size of the pigment, and it is a real chunky one. There's a lot of sediment in it, and maybe that's why either it wasn't selling well or they just were having a hard time making consistent paint. But I like this like consistency that's like, it's almost like sandy. It's called Pipestone. And so I went ahead and ordered it. It was on sale because they were discontinuing it, and that's what prompted that whole order. This is another one that's been a favorite of mine for a long, long time. It came in one of the first sets that I ordered from Daniel Smith back when I was in grad school. Back in like 2016, maybe 2015, 2016. And it is dark. No, it's called Quin Burnt Orange. Yeah, quinacridone Burnt Orange, Daniel Smith. And it's just a nice, I mean, I'm not a big orange person. I'm not a huge yellow ochre person either, but this shade I really, really like. And I use it a lot. It's actually one of the least used on my palette. I don't go to this one so often, but I find when I need something, you know, that's the one I go to. And then I have a lot now, like some of these are really dirty, so I'm sorry, we're not getting pure pigments here, but this one is Hansa Yellow. I think it might be Hansa Yellow Medium. This is also Daniel Smith. And it is a very nice, I would say cool leaning, but like a neutral yellow. Bright, and I'll often mix it with just a little bit of green. I really love that yellow. And this is CFM Peach. I'm surprised at how much I like this color. I really like it. I ordered it because I thought I would like it, but when I got it, I liked it a whole lot more. This is Daniel Smith. Is it lilac or... Oh, I didn't put it on this palette. Oh, I think I changed out a couple after I made this. Okay, so I want to say this is lilac. There are two, wisteria and lilac. And I think the wisteria is the more bluey one. And this is the lilac that's more like reddish purple. I hope I'm right about that. I have both of them, but I don't use the, oh no, it's already been 10 minutes. It's already been 10 minutes? How is that 10 minutes? That's crazy. I'll just keep going. But this color is, no, sorry, the other one, the blue purple that's, I think, wisteria, is oddly quite close to ultramarine blue. Also, I mean, I use the French ultramarine from Daniel Smith, and they're not the same color if you put them at full vibrancy, like they're full power, but when they're you know, diluted, they look very similar. So I don't often put wisteria in my palette because I have the ultramarine blue. I just feel like I don't need both of them. And let's see. Okay, so this is one of my longtime favorites. It's Daniel Smith Rich Green Gold. They have a normal green gold. I'm gonna move this up here. They have just a regular green gold, and this is the rich green gold. I think the rich has a little bit more dirtiness to it. I don't know. It's more, I don't really know. I'd have to have both beside me to compare them, but I definitely I prefer the rich green gold to the regular green gold. Okay, so this one is, I'm pretty sure this one is a Shin Pass vermilion that is kind of one of those colors that, I mean, the paint is like a gouache watercolor, like a watercolor / gouache color. I think that when I do buy some more paints, I might try the Daniel Smith has a vermilion, or maybe it's a vermilion light that I want to try. I can't remember. I've almost bought it a couple of times, but I'm trying to hold back. But this is a really great color. There's nothing wrong with it. I think I just feel a little bit funny about it because it's not a pure watercolor, but it operates like a watercolor, so it's fine. You can tell I'm getting my fingers on this and it's getting like oily on the paper. This one is Purline Violet, Daniel Smith, and I've used this one for several years too. It's really nice. Gets quite dark. Okay, I have a lot of greens and several blues on my palette. That's where most of the oh, excuse me. I'm probably not going to edit that out. I'm sorry. That's where most of the real estate is in my palette, is with greens. So let's see here. This one is olive green, I think. Or is it the... Yeah, this is Daniel Smith Olive. And then I should just stick with the greens while I do it, but I'm just going in order here. This is Fluorescent Brick Red from Case for Making. It is one of my all-time favorite watercolor paints. I use it all the time. It doesn't always show up in scans, unfortunately, but I just love what it adds to this color palette. And it's been one of my favorite colors for probably I don't know, 6 or 7 years. Like, it's been a while since I've loved this color. And I was so excited to find this as a watercolor. There are some cheaper set. Well, there's probably a lot more now, but back then when I started looking for it, you could find like cheap watercolor sets with fluorescent colors, but you couldn't find anything like really nice, or I couldn't. Case for Making started making these. I don't know when that was, and I don't know if I caught it right away, but anyways, I've had this for several years and I love it. I have more of their fluorescent colors, but this is the one that I consistently use, and I'll have to buy another one eventually because I know that that's one I always want to have in my palette. There's something about it that just like, it's like part of my style now to add that to some of my colors. I did contaminate. My brush is contaminated, but this is Cerulean Blue, Daniel Smith. Excuse me. This one I love, love, love. And this is the true cerulean. This is just like cerulean blue. There's another one they have that's cerulean blue hue. And I think that one has different pigments in it, and they're brighter pigments. This is like true cerulean pigment. And this is the one I chose. This is the one I like. So if you're looking for something like that, it's a nice light blue, which is hard to find. I think in watercolor, you often get the fully pigmented, like darker blues, like the, ultramarine is fairly like vivid, and then phthalo blues and cobalt blues and that, like they're super intense. But cerulean is a nice like sky blue color, which I really like, because as you can tell, I use a lot of kind of more pastel or muted colors, and I like to have these ready for me as they are, because I like to use, the way that I use watercolor is often not very diluted. I like to use it kind of on the like thicker side of things. I like to really use the pigment and layer it up. Not thick like gouache, or like not like that, but still on the heavier side. And that's why when I have these super pigmented colors, they're hard to use like that. Like it's hard to get a lighter tone when your colors are that intense. So that's why. All right, next up we have another green. This one is Daniel Smith Deep Sap. Then I have another case for making color called Nicosia? I don't really know how you'd say that. Nicosia green. It's a very, it's like a lighter green. I would compare it to like a terra verte almost, or like an earth green, because that pigment is not super heavily pigmented. It's a lighter pigment. Doesn't at least the one I have is not heavy. Yeah, so anyway, that's a good one. And then this is the French Ultramarine from Daniel Smith. This is another one that I've had for years and years and years. And it's pretty much always in my palette. I love how vivid it is. And then next up, I have Prussian green. So with my greens, I like to have a range of both cool to warm and kind of like a light to dark sort of range. I use a lot of greens in my work, and so I want to have a whole variety to work with. This one is another Holbein. Holbein makes a lot of colors that are more on the gouache side because they have the white mixed in. Some of the CFM colors also have white mixed in, but this one is called Compose Green. And that one's a fun one. Definitely like pretty opaque. And then this is another, let's see if I can clean this a bit. This is another CFM color, CFM Horizon, which I really like. It's another light blue. It's a different kind of blue than cerulean. Definitely has white in there. I don't know how much you can tell they're this far apart, but they are definitely different. This one's a little bit more green, like there's more green in it, and it's really pretty. Okay, one more row and then we're done. This is another, I'm pretty sure it's another Mission color. Yeah, Mission Shadow Green. I bought a couple of shadow greens fairly like this year, and they're pretty similar. Another one was by Shin. I ordered both of them from Jackson's. I chose this one to be in my palette for now because I think it's a little bit more, I liked it better. I think it's because it goes darker. I wanted something with that like full range of pigment. So this is almost black, and then you can see it can like fade out to like super light, almost like a gray green. And I use that color a lot. I love it. And then likewise, I have a dark blue. This one is Daniel Smith Indigo, which also has a very broad range of, like a value range from very dark to quite light. That's really important to me in my work. I need the value range. So while I do have a lot of lighter colors, I have to also have this intense darkness also to offset, you know, I need all those colors. And then this last one I really don't use very often, but it's the Schminky Cobalt Turquoise. This is a really vivid color, very bright. It's very pretty, but I find that I think it's a little overwhelming for my palette sometimes. So I don't use it very often, but I like that it's there. I think you can tell it kind of sticks out, honestly. It kind of is, I don't know, a little different than some of the other colors, a lot of the other colors. Okay, so that's my palette. How long has this been going? Yeah, 24 minutes. I'm gonna stop here. Let me know if you have any questions. At another time, I'm gonna swatch some other things for you, including some other paints that I have that I use. They're kind of like my secondary colors that I use quite often. And so let me know if there's anything else you want me to swatch. I don't do a lot of this kind of thing or hauls because I don't want to contribute to like over consumption and overspending, because that's a problem that I have. I often feel like I need something when I see that somebody else bought it. And so I'm very conscious of that. And I don't want to put that kind of pressure on you. However, I do know that as somebody who does need to buy art supplies from time to time, it's very helpful to see things Like, even though this is through a video, it's better than a swatch on the internet that is often not the right color. So, especially when you can see it compared to other colors. So I know it can be very helpful if you're actually like wanting to, like you're needing to buy some new supplies. So I'm happy to share these kinds of things with you. If you have specific questions about things that I own or have tried or whatever, I will, you know, I can share it all if it's helpful. Okay. So I'm sorry about, this is going to be unedited. Sorry about the sneezes and the sniffs, but I hope that you don't mind too much. And I hope you're well. I'll see you later. Love you. Bye.